My name is John Doane. I'm the President Medical Director of Discover Vision Centers in Kansas City. Over the next several minutes, I'm going to discuss my experience with SMILE in general and the VISUMAX 800, which has recently been approved and released in the United States. Over the last 8 years, I've been the course director for the Zeiss SMILE surgeon-to-surgeon training in the U.S., and I'm currently using the VISUMAX 800 over the last 6 months or so, treating patients commercially. So let's talk about the VISUMAX 800. I think quite simply my thoughts as I've been using it since roughly March of this year is that better instruments will typically lead to better results, happier patients, and as a direct windfall of that, better surgeons, if you will. And I think if you make the process easier and less stressful for surgeons, you will certainly lengthen their surgical careers. You'll decrease fatigue at the end of the day for the surgeons, and thus I think provide better surgical outcomes for patients. Now, a couple things that are really key for the VISUMAX 800 is that it operates much faster than its predecessor, which is the VISUMAX 500. And we're talking about 4 times as fast, or 2 million spots placed per second during the treatment of the patient. This leads to more precise tissue photodisruption since those spots are ahead of the gas bubble expansion. This allows for easier identification of the anterior and posterior interfaces of the SMILE lenticule and provides for easier dissection of those interfaces. All of this ends up resulting in less stressful and quicker surgery for the staff, surgeon, and patient. And since there's less physical manipulation or horsing around, if you will, should lead to a speedier recovery for the patients. I should also mention that with the new laser, the software runs at a much faster clock speed, so the overall throughput is faster. With the 500 laser, frequently I was waiting for it to get ready to do the next step of the procedure. With the 800 is ready and actually waiting for me to do my next step in the surgical process. Now, there are 2 next advances for the system, and they are automated centration and torsional registration, which should only improve the outcomes for patients. And we're going to describe that in the next few slides. Now, one other thing we did in the U.S., which I think was very helpful, is the VISUMAX 800, the initial one that came to the U.S., was rolled through several clinics. Our clinic in Kansas City, the Cleveland Eye Clinic site with Sean McBoffin and Bill Wiley, Sonny Gold and Bruce Rivers, both in the Washington, D.C. area. And we looked at 27 bilaterally treated patients with 54 eyes, and we were looking for feedback from the surgeons as how they felt things went. So the first thing we looked at was central line satisfaction. How happy were the surgeons with the effectiveness of centering the treatment with the new software process? Scoring it from 0 as perfect and 1 being happy, the average rating was 0.88, so somewhere between perfect and happy with those first 27 bilaterally treated patients. What about ease of lenticle dissection? Well, rating from 1 to 5, the average score is 1.4, and that's somewhere between incredibly easy and easy. And the overall opinion of how the case went, 1 being happy, 2 being good, the average score is 1.12, so very close to just simply being happy. So let's look at a couple of these advances as I mentioned. Automated centration, which we call centraline, and this is treatment centration based upon line of sight, not center of pupil, but line of sight, which should be the gold star, if you will, or North Star for centration and avoiding any unwanted symptoms. The other thing that we're working with now is Oculine, which is astigmatic registration of the treatment on the cornea aligned with the corneal astigmatic major axis. So this is a case of mine. We're going to advance onto the cornea, and much like probably a fighter pilot doing a joystick for landing on a carrier, we're going to follow that lollipop, the yellow lollipop you see in the screen above where my hand is. So my hand is, I'm getting the joystick to center roughly on the cornea. I'm going to get to the center of the cornea, or correction, centration of the treatment on the line of sight. Once I feel like I'm there, I'm going to activate suction. I'm going to take the green dot and put it right on top of the yellow dot to the best of my ability. We're getting very close here. This is the left eye, so we're typically always going to be a little bit nasal center, and that's the case for this patient. We've now activated suction. We're going to get close to activating suction. We've activated suction. Now we're going to adjust the torsional or astigmatic correction. You saw the small turn clockwise. We're going to activate treatment. This is the refractive cut. Now we're going to do the cap cut and finish in the laser sequence for the corneal incision.
Fantastic. That's good.